Thank you very much, Sarah. Very inspirational. The disruptors often come from other sectors where they've had successful careers. Sarah comes from the finance industry, and Anil Raj, who's on stage tonight, is another disruptor who comes from the telecommunications industry. That industry, wireless telecommunications, of course, leapfrogged fixed line communications. And what Anil Raj is doing in India is actually double leapfrogging. He is able to provide access to energy via the mobile telecommunications industry and reaching people without the grid infrastructure that we're accustomed to in the West. And I'm very pleased to announce that, or to welcome the visionary Anil Raj to the stage. Thank you.
Thank you, Molly. That's I have to live up to that introduction now. Yeah, so I have to start by saying I feel a complete imposter, actually. I'll come back to that. So 2 days ago, I was sitting under a mango tree in a village very far away, discussing product pricing with some village elders, and now we're here sipping champagne. And if this is the climate change business, I want to be in it. So I work for OMC Power. It's a company that I started with some friends 4 years ago. And we're a power company. Incidentally, we happen to be a renewably clean energy company, not by design, really, but solar happened to be the cheapest source of energy. And, heresy, I'll say that. If it was cheaper to burn coal or diesel, we would have done that. Because for a business to be sustainable, it has to generate a profit. And finding a long-term solution starts with, something which has to be financially sustainable. OMC Power, we are an energy company in a very old industry, as we've heard, and nothing's really changed, since Edison designed the first DC network, Tesla the first AC network. We have the grid, and we have very large power plants which pump energy into this grid, and we're consumers who use that energy. This architecture really has been unchanged for since this industry started, and we're actually on the cusp. We're in between two architectures. That's the way we see it, and unfortunately, we're trying to fit a whole bunch of new technologies into the old architecture. We have things like photovoltaic panels, we have things like the lithium-ion batteries and so on. These belong to a new, different architecture, not to the old grid architecture. That's the point that we're making. So OMC Power finances, builds, owns and operates power plants. And we want to be the biggest distributed power company in the world. Of the more than 1 billion people who lack energy today, we're lucky to have 400 million of them actually in India, which is a great captive market. The problem, the other side of the opportunity, is that it's difficult for investors, it's difficult for venture capitalists, for banks, for funds to qualify this risk. Most of our customers have no address, have no social security number, don't own a credit card, yet they're, in our experience, extremely creditworthy. Now, traditional ways of assessing a risk can't be used here. And what's that causing is it's difficult for companies like ourselves to get access to financing unless it's some very forward-leaning investor who understands this. Again, this is a question of market maturity, and there will be hundreds of companies like ours. We're confident, we're sure of that. because that really is the only way we can solve the energy problems of these 1.5 billion people today. Building large coal and oil-fired power plants is not going to solve the problem. It's the cheapest and fastest way is to build small, distributed, renewable energy power plants, and which is what we're doing today. There's a lot of frustration about regulators, you know, the unfair subsidies, you know, which skew market, which skew customer behaviors. And, you know, with some of my telecom experience using that perspective, you know, that is always the case. No one's written the book on renewable energy. It is being written right now, you know, by yourselves, by us. Regulators don't have all the answers. They're learning as well. So I think, you know, the intentions are good all around. Certainly from our market in India, you know, we think we have only good words to say, but the government wants to, of course, have a policy which promotes clean energy and combats climate change. The regulators want to make sure, of course, that, you know, companies like ourselves are given an equal chance in competition with the incumbents and distribution companies. But the road there is not always straight. It's a learning process, but we'll get there. We're 100% confident of that. So yeah, you know, I think the sense I have really is, you know, if I go back to my former job in the telecom business, where we are today in the energy business is like the telecom industry was in the late 80s and early 90s, where cell phones were, you know, as big as briefcases. We will get to these distributed energy solutions with Teslas or similar, you know, power walls, batteries, and so on. It's early days yet. There's a lot of technology revolution which is going to happen. Moore's law applies to silicon, applies to solar cells. We've seen, you know, the journey that the price per watt is made in photovoltaics. The next big revolution is going to be in storage. And really, I think, you know, from our perspective, this is a fantastic place to be. A great business. A little difficult for investors to understand, perhaps, but the opportunity is very, very large. And yeah, we are very optimistic and positive. Thank you.